So here he was, this huge figure, and he's taking you under his wing as his little homie, you
Hmm.
know, and you're still in junior high and high school during this time. Well, I guess
Yeah,
junior high, yeah, junior high originally.
I'm still going to school. Yeah, I'm still going to school. I got to go to school because my parents demanding that I go to school. And I'm not hustling at that time though. I'm just around. I'm just around, and I'm doing small favors for them, whether it's running to the store or going to the mall to pick up something for them, and they putting money in my pocket. Simple things I started out doing. And then the simple things led to other things.
Okay, and unlike a lot of the other guys who got into this life, you actually came from a two parent home.
And both my parents was in my life, and both
Exactly.
of them worked. They provided me and my little sisters with whatever we needed. So I had the support of my parents, but like I said, the environment sucks you in sometime. You see your parents working, but they struggling. And I'm not understanding why they working, but they still struggling. And the reason why I knew they were struggling, because as a kid, you're listening to your parents have conversations. And it seemed like they living paycheck to paycheck. And I couldn't understand that as a young kid.
You start doing little runs and little favors for Felix. And at what point did it start to progress into kind of more serious things?
Well, what eventually started happening is that I started holding guns because of my age. The chances of the police grabbing me and searching me was slim back then. So those are some of the little things that when we were young that we kind of started doing, making us be a part of what was going on around in our environment. And then you would earn a paycheck from that. Somebody might give you $100, or they might give you $200, right? And when you're young, back then that was a cool little amount of money to have in your pocket. And so this is how some of the younger kids like myself start even being a part of playing any role in what was going on around us back then.
Okay. So here you are, you're a young kid, you're 13, 14 years old. You're starting to do these little runs for, the dealers in your area that are under Felix. Obviously you start buying things for yourself. You probably start buying sneakers and nicer clothes and everything else like that, which I'm sure your parents started to notice because they're not buying the stuff for you. So how did the conversations at home start to kind of develop as your parents start to slowly figure out what's happening?
That's interesting, right? I knew that was going to come up. So the first hustle that I had was scalping tickets at the Coliseum. I was this little kid, right? And I used to see these older guys selling these tickets, right? And they was fast talkers, right? And quick talkers. So I started asking some of these older guys, man, how's y'all selling these tickets? So they explained to me what they was doing. So I said, well, if they can do this, I can do it. So what I started doing is I started approaching older people at the Coliseum, and I would walk up to you and I would say, hey, sir, you happen to have any extra tickets? And you might say, yeah. And I might say, how much can I get a ticket for? I want to go in the game, sir. And here I am, this little nappy-headed kid, right? Sometimes them individuals would just give me a ticket thinking I'm going to go in the game. So what I would do is I would go around to the opposite side of the Coliseum, and then I go sell that ticket to another guy who's looking for a ticket. I'm putting that money in my pocket. So now I started scalping, and then once I started learning the trade, I would go and try to buy tickets for a lower value and then turn around and sell them and mark them up. And I started scalping. So what I started telling my parents was, when they asked me, where did you get these new outfits from, Darryl? I said, Mom, I went to the Raiders game and the Warriors game, and I made my money scalping tickets. And this worked for a long period of time with them.
But at some point, it starts getting more serious for you. And,
Yes.
I guess that you were actually being groomed as like a second in command in the whole operation, right?
Yep.
Okay. How did that start to happen? How did you go from just this little kid who's doing runs and holding guns and so forth to like, okay, this might be the next Felix Mitchell?
So what happened was, as I got older and I got good at scalping tickets, I started making, $300-400 as a little kid, right? So at this recreation center that I used to hang out at called Rainbow on Seminary, they had this guy there that was selling marijuana. And he approached me one day with an offer. He said to me, man, would you be interested in investing with me into some weed, man? I'm selling weed. I need a little help. Can you help me out? You want to invest into this marijuana? So I say to him, well, man, what's going to be the split? And he said, man, we're going to go 50-50. Now, mind you, I'm a little kid. I'm 14 years old. So I give him the money to invest with him off into this marijuana. And he told me I didn't have to do nothing. He told me just front the money to him, and he's going to do all the hard work. So I say, man, this is an offer I can't refuse. I gives him the money. He starts selling weed. He starts giving me a certain amount of profit throughout the week. So now my mind, I get interested in what he's doing. So now I want to ask him more questions on how much you making out of this? How much you paying for this? And then once I learned what he was doing, I realized he had been getting over on me because I was naive. So now this 14-year-old kid, 15-year-old kid, I told him I want to be more hands-on. When we purchase it, I want to be there, and I want to see how much we getting from my money I'm investing. And he didn't really like that because now he was going to realize that I know he been stealing from me. So what I chose to do is I started to go to my uncles and tell them, this guy been beating me out of my money. But my uncles was dangerous, and if I don't went to my uncles, I don't know what would have happened. So I made a decision, and my decision was, no, I'm making money. I don't want to run this guy off. He's beneficial to me. I'm just going to stay on top of the business side, and then I know how much money I'm bringing in, and he can't get over on me no more. That was my beginning of selling marijuana.